Welcome back, everybody. This is the Me, Myself, and I playthrough of main event scenario of the game Unconditional Surrender. Published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta. We last ended September with a botched attempt at the Western Desert Forest trying to isolate Africa Army. We will start this turn with the weather phase, because now we actually have to start rolling again. Clear weather is gone. Bring up my player aid card here. These little sorting markers here are telling me that I have to add +1 to the October die roll because I had clear weather in June. These are optional rules that I'm testing out that Sal has published in the errata document. So this definitely helps the Russians in this case because there's only a 1 in 6 chance of a fair normally in October, and because I have to add 1, it will not be fair. It will either be poor or severe. So here we go. The die roll for cold zone is a 3 plus 1 is a 4. That means it will be poor. And we can just get rid of that marker there. The mild zone is also +1 for the same reason. 4 plus 1 is a 5. So in the mild zone, it is severe. Okay. And since it wasn't fair in June in the warm zone, we just get to roll and see what we get for the warm zone. And we rolled a 3, which makes it also poor. Now when we go into November, we won't be able to have the same weather 2 months in a row in November, which can help in the cold zone because if you look at the table over here, fair is 1, severe is 5 and 6. I have to either roll a 1 or a 5 or a 6. So there's a 1/3 chance I might actually get a clear weather turn in November, which could help the Germans redress anything that happens here in October. That's weather. The Axis isn't going to declare war. The Western and Soviets are going to hold off here. They're not set up to do anything. We go to the economy phase. National tracks are all set. You'll see that the Russians and the British are both down to 14 production points now. That's because of the strategic warfare and the fact that the Germans captured quite a few factories from the Russians. So things will get better as we go along for the Russians. And hopefully for when the United States gets in the war, it'll help the Commonwealth as well. But right now, they're kind of on meager rations. Strategic warfare. The Russians are +2 because of the number of conquered countries I have. I'm +1 as the Germans because I have an airplane up there. We do have submarines that we could play. But seeing as the British have Ultra, and they will probably play that against us, we're going to save our submarines for the West. So here's the straight die rolls here. Well, die rolls with the modifiers. The Germans roll a 4 plus 1 is a 5, and the Russians roll a 3 plus 2 is also a 5. Combat results table means that that's 5 to 5 is a diamond. If we look at the national tracks, both the Germans and the Russians are at the minimum factory loss that they can be at, so no change. Now we go to the West. The Germans are +3. The British are +0 at the moment. This is a foregone conclusion for me from both sides that they will play. Germans will play their submarines, and the British will be playing their Ultra. The British are trying to recover factories, and that's the best way they can do it. So the Germans roll. If I can get on the dice there. A 3 plus 3 is a 6, and then halved because of Ultra makes it a 3. And the British roll a 6, halved is also a 3 because of the submarines. 3 to a 3 is a diamond, so the Germans can't recover a factory loss, but the British can. So they're back to 5 factories lost. So I'll give them a couple production points next turn, which is what they're trying to get to. As many production points as they can. Then we have to roll dice to see when we get our things back. The Germans roll for their submarines a 5, not coming back for a while. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Won't be back till March. And the British also roll a 5, so they're coming back in March. So those things won't be around for the next few die rolls. And that's strategic warfare, strategic movement. The Axis is going to strategically move. This was pointed out by someone on Board Game Geek. Forgive me, I can't remember exactly who to give credit to here. I'm going to try and look up everybody's name, and then maybe in November I'll give everybody credit for all the ideas that they've given me. But they pointed out that you could strategically move like a 6-sortie fighter to the west and then fly a Western fighter to the east, and it probably would show up with 3 or 4 sorties and be usable. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually take the one in the south here. I'm going to leave the one in Belaluki. I'm going to move this thing here, and I'm going to zoom out here so I can get across the map. Oh, that's in, dummy. I'm going to zoom out so I can move across the map a little bit quicker. Yeah, I think that's going to work. So the guy that's down here goes over all these rail lines, take your scenic route that you would like to choose across Europe, and ends their strategic move in Dusseldorf. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. 3, 4, 5, 6. Which is where I want to end up. I can move either plane. If I move the one in Norway, then I would probably have to move the one in France to base in Norway, so I get my +1 all the time. So when it comes time to moves, you're going to see that airplane go flying into Never Never Land. So I'm going to zoom back into where we can actually see the counters again. And we move on to the west strategic movement. Don't want to move anything in England. I still have this guy sitting here just in case the Germans get cheeky. That's why the 10th hasn't moved out of the Western Indian Ocean. It's going to go wherever the crisis develops first. And I really don't want to move anybody here because it'll mess up my supplies. So, no west. The Soviets... don't really... Oh, just for information's sake, the movement that I did from Moscow to Bryansk was canceled to save me a production point because I'm allowed to build inside of an enemy zone of control, so I could have built a unit in Bryansk rather than in Moscow. And that would have allowed me to flip the 3rd Army, which I forgot to do in my replacements phase, so I retconned that to being... I knew I could do it, I just didn't execute it in the right order. Again, I was trying to go too fast to get keep myself under a minimum amount of time. So that was retconned offline. Just if you're wondering why the 3rd is suddenly flipped face up like it is and so on. So I don't see one for the Russians. I really don't. I can't see a good place to put somebody on the rail line where they would be in a defensive position for the German attack. So I think I'm going to wait and just react to whatever they do. So we're to the Axis operations phase. So we're going to do what I was talking about. Again, we will zoom out here to large spaces. This German aircraft here, I'm not sure what number that is, the 3rd Luft, will start his trek to the east. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10 into southern Germany, which gives him a sortie marker. That's going to be moving with him, and then he's going to go another 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 into Hungary, and that's another sortie. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to Kiev for another sortie. And then he's going to end in the hex with, where do I want to put him? Probably in the space where the Hungarians are currently sitting, I think. Because that'll help give me some coverage to the north as well as to the south, sort of centrally located. And that gives him another sortie. So I ended up trading a unit in the south that had 6 sorties, which went to the west to fulfill my home defense policy requirements. And then I ended up with an aircraft with 4 sorties on it. What that will allow me to do is I'm allowed to cancel out the Russian aircraft, which is what we will do next. So this airplane, the 3rd Luft, just keeping on with him, is going to attack. Let's zoom in here so we can see the counters that I'm talking about. 3rd Luft against the 2nd Air. The Russians are at, let's see, we're in poor weather. Is this a straight? Yeah, poor weather. So the Germans are +2 for being German, -4 for sorties, which would make them a -2, and then another -2 for the weather, which means they're at -4. Best they can roll is a 2. The Russians are at a -6. The best they can roll is a 1. A 2 and a 1 is diamonds, so it's basically just a straight exchange. We don't even need to roll dice, just add the sorties. And we will do the same here in the south. It's the same battle. The die roll modifiers are the same, and there's no reason to roll dice. It's automatic that's everybody's going to have at least 1 sortie, and it's just a trade-off. It keeps the Russians from having some pluses in poor weather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Salt would be 1. I was looking at the 2nd Panzer possibly crossing the straits and attacking into Novrisky, but he does have tanks markers, which would give him a +1. So I would be attacking at +3. He would be defending at +1 in an assault. Maybe I get a retreat out of him. Not sure that that's a good place to be, because I'd have to put another unit in 3553 to ensure my supply line, because he could just move to 3554 and cut it. It would give me 2 will points on him. I don't even think there's a chance of me getting a DE, so I don't think I can eliminate the unit unless I want to, commit an infantry unit to follow up and then just keep trying to chase him around. That seems to be counterproductive at this point. Yeah, I might get clear weather next turn, but I just don't see the attack mounting from the south like this working. So I think we're not gonna do that. Let me go look in the north. I want to make sure I save at least 9 production points to get my airplanes back. And I have 20... Oh, sorry. Forgot to give the Italians one. 27. Don't think I need to move both Romanians. So, and I'm going to have to spend 2 in the... Yeah, I know something. Let's go do the Mediterranean, because this might decide what I'm going to do elsewhere on the map. So we're gonna have to fight this battle here. The Germans will activate the Africa Corps. Oh no, they won't. The Italians will fight their never-ending battle with the British Air here. The British are at -3 because they're +1 for British, -4 for sorties. The Italians are at -4. So Basically, if the British roll a 6, they'll have a sortie left. Otherwise, they'll end up being trades. The Italians roll a 2, which becomes a 1, because you can't go lower than 1. The British roll a 6. -3 is a 3. They get 2 sorties on the Italian air, and they only take 1 themselves. So, making up for that horrible die roll by the Western Desert Force, they have countered this. So now, Germans are in a quandary. Be +3 to +3. +5, possibly. To +5. Could give me a decent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe a 1/3 chance of just stopping his attack if I go whole hog at it. Well, the Germans have to try. So they activate the Africa army. Bring up the faction card right away because we have to allow for tanks and things. Germans have to decide which way they want to attack. I think they're going to attack the 9th, just like we did last time, see if this works. I don't know. It's bad whatever I do. So I'm attacking the 9th. Means the British start off at a -1. Germans start off normally at a +2, but they have to subtract 1 for the ridge line. So right now it's a +1 to a -1. We go to combat commitment. The British can throw in an airplane and a tank. The Germans can only throw in a tank. They both are going to commit something. The Germans are going to throw in their tank marker, just because they have to give themselves the best chance here. That's +2, so now they're up to +3 net. They don't have anything else they can throw in. The British then can choose 2, 3, 4, 5. The airplane can cover both. Question is here is, do I want to try and make this a +3/+3? See if I can get an attack or stop? Because if I throw everything in and I fail, Western Desert Force will be in a world of hurt. I think I want to try and stop him right here so that I don't have to spend production points to move. So I'm going to throw in the airplane for an extra +2, puts me at a +1, and I'm going to throw in the tanks. I'm going to say, let's gamble right here and stop it at a +3/+3. So off we go to the die rolls. The Germans will roll 4 +3 is a 7. And the British roll a 3 +3 is a 6, so they did manage to keep them from taking them out. Tanks markers for everybody come back next turn. And that's sort of disconcerting for the Germans. That cost them 3 movement points. Now they could attack again at +1 to -1, but that would be 3 more, and they only have 2 more attacks with 7 left. So they have to try and hit the Western Desert Force and see if they can get a lucky split here. They'll be at +1, +2, -1 for the ridge, and the British are naturally a +1, so it's just straight die rolls here, essentially. +1, 1 shift over, but we each get to add the same amount. So the Germans roll 2 +1 is a 3. That's not good. The British roll a 1 +1 is a 2. 3 to a 2, if you double check, is a diamond, so that didn't work. That cost me 3. And so we do it one more time, hoping to get a better die roll this time. 4 +1 is a 5, and the British roll a 1 again, which is a 2, and a 5 to a 2 is a DR. So the British get flipped. Well, that'll keep them from being able to try and break up my supply line here. Now the question is, can I do this in a strange way? He'd have to pull that to Brook, which he probably will do, but at this point, it might be worth it, because I'll be in supply. I'm playing with ideas here. See, I can do this. The Italian 10th Army could go... Oh. Actually, I probably would use the... Yeah. Could go 1, 2, and have both of these units assaulting. They're both at -2 to start with, so primary one would get the attack. It would make us... The British will be at a -1. It would make us at a +1 to a -1, and we're hoping to get a retreat. I think I have to. But this is a chance that I might get not again, so I'm going to go ahead and activate the 10th Army here. It's going to move down here, 2 movement points, and then 2 more movement. It only has 4 movement points, so it's 2 movement points and 2 movement points to declare an assault. Why do I do that? And then this guy is going to spend a production point to also declare an assault. So I'm starting off... does it matter which one's the primary? The 4th Garrison held so well, we'll call him the primary. So I start off at -2. The British are at -1. I do have an Italian tanks marker, so I'm going to go ahead and play that. So that gives me a +2. And then +1 for the assault, because I have a second unit helping me assault, gives me an extra +1. So now I'm +2, or +1 to -1. There's a 2-point differential. And we just got to hope for some decent die rolls. The Italians roll. 2 + 1 is a 3. My lord. This is going to be a fiasco amongst fiascos, it looks like. I'm going to unhighlight this. And then the Western Desert Force at -1. Oh my god, they rolled a 2. Vassal has decided 2 is the number of the day. 2 - 1 is a 1, and the Italians had a 2 + 1 is a 3, I think. Yes, it is. A 3 to a 1 is a DR, and the Western Desert Force cannot retreat, so it must be eliminated. Oh my goodness. Disaster in the desert. That has an extra effect of lowering the British willpower to 19. Yay! We can conquer Britain. Haha. Not likely. I get to take the hex with either unit. I am thinking I want to get the Italian unit out of the way. So I'm going to take it with that guy. I got to put the Italian tanks on the turn marker. And yes, the 4th Garrison has pulled it off. Not only did it defend itself, but it also... Oops, that's not what I need. I need the turn track. But it also managed to knock off the Western Desert Force after Africa Army softened it up. That was a good thing I gave them an extra production point, I guess. They're in a world of hurt right now as far as things the British could do. The British could actually try to mount an amphibious invasion from West Africa. Or could they? 3, 4, 5, 6 through the canal, 7. Yeah, 8, and they could hit Tobruk. So I could take my fleet down to there and come back and invade Tobruk, and it would be automatic, and I'd be in a fort, which would make then all the Axis units have to, retreat to get back in supply next turn, which might be the thing I do. Maybe I won't be opposing Italian supply here in an effort to take Tobruk with an end run. Things you have to think about. Okay, I shouldn't be thinking about the West. So the Axis has relieved their problem by very lucky die rolls of this whole desert debacle. And I've got to make sure that I don't let that happen again. So now I can go look at the Russian front. It's poor weather here, so only assaults are allowed. It's -1 to the die roll. Armor only adds +1 unless it's, being added in. So I have to look at the kinds of things that I can do and that I need to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can get an infantry unit to there. Or I can put him to there. I put that Romanian there. Infantry unit there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he could come up and fill in for the 15th. And then we could go and try and attack the 16th. Let's see, at poor weather. Trying to figure out where I need to put my armor and things. Not a lot of good attacks here, quite honestly. There is one thing I see that I better not let happen. I'm going to move one German infantry unit for sure. This guy, the first army, is actually going to go 1 and then 2. Because I really don't want to have a 3-hex attack on the 1st Panzer, even if he is in good terrain. 3-hex attacks by Russians I don't like to see, because it means he can actually use both tank markers if he so chooses. So that leaves me with like an attack here. What's in this? Just my airplane. An attack here at the 3rd Army. Could attack the low supply guy in the woods outside of Bryansk. And I'm thinking of trying to get off some kind of a weak little attack against the 16th here. I think those are the only attacks I really got. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. Hungarians don't count. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 more I would be spending. Let's check my national track. 13 more, starting at 24, would leave me with 11. So that would be, definitely have my 9 to do what I need to do to get my airplanes back. So I might even be able to move another infantry unit someplace. Like maybe the guy in Munich, start running him down into Italy so I can... Well, I really don't need to move him down there, do I? That's a quandary. Do I move him to Italy, or do I send him back to the east? That's something to think about. Okay. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. Do I need to rearrange these things at all? Smolensk looks a little light on defense there. You can get a 1, 2, 3 hex attack at like +2, 3. Hee. That might not be a good thing. Be +4. -1, it'd be +3 to my +2. Take the chance. So I'm going to activate the 11th, then the 6th, and then the 4th Panzer. They're all going to be, is it Control P for Control P? Nope, not Control P. I'm adding things I shouldn't be adding. I guess they're, oh, don't want to do that. Undo that. Don't want to delete the unit, just the low supply marker. I was trying to see if there was a shortcut to place assault markers, but there isn't. Clone. I don't want to clone that. God dang it. Clone this. There. Counterclockwise. So there's an assault. That was 1, 2, 3, 4 on the willpower track. Got to take that down, so now I'm down to 20. I was going to try and rig up a weak attack here on the 16th. We're going to play some shenanigan games here, I think. We're going to take this 3rd Panzer. Oh no, what did I take it down for? I need to take it down 2, so I'm at 18. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 because it's 1 for the 4 to there, 5 to move into the hex, and then 6, 7 to attack him. Because in poor weather, it costs you 2 movement points to attack things. And the Hungarians, in their pursuit of their lost recipe, they still haven't found it. They're going to end up in 2750. I should place my assault marker. Bring another one down here, and he's going to help the armor assault this unit. And then the 15th, if I counted right, 15th can go 1, 2. I should activate the Hungarians. Take 1 off the Hungarians' production. They've spent their production point for the turn. Oops, that's the Romanians. Don't want to do that. Hungarians and the Romanians go back. They can still move a unit. And then he also assaults. Badoom, badoom, badoom. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're going to move the 2nd Panzer up the rail line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2. Maybe not. I think we'll move the 10th first. It'll go 1, 2, 3 to 2851, and then the armored unit will actually move into 3052. And the infantry unit, the 18th, so that's 3 more. 2, 3 more. And then the 18th will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to be in contact with the Russians at 3253. So I'm going to do a quick count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That doesn't sound right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I started at 27, so yeah, I'm at 15. So I'm at 15 for now. And then I could activate these 3 to do this attack, and that would put me at 12. Going to activate the Romanians, the 4th Romanian. He's going to go ahead and move up to the other side of the strait to keep the Russians from crossing the strait easily. Again, it's just sticking my nose across the strait just seems like an invitation to be destroyed. Do I want to take this out? Maybe I should see what I do on the other 2 assaults before I figure out if I want to spend this production here. I don't know what I would do with 15. Because I don't have anything to build. I think I'm going to see what I do in these 2 assaults before I decide if I'm going to do this assault outside of Bryansk. So let's see what happens here. Let's do the northern one first. So we'll add this up. The Germans have an armored unit is going to be the primary, so he starts off at +3. And then I have 2 guys helping. That's +4, +5. And then I'm attacking in poor weather with the new rules requiring me to do only assaults. It's only -1, not -2. So -1 for the weather. And then -1 more for the fact that he's on a rough terrain. So I'm a +3. And the Russians start off at 0. I don't have anything I can commit up there. All my airplanes are used, and I use my tanks to break the Africa army out. The Russians do have 2 tank counters. There's obviously at least 2, possibly a 3rd attack somewhere. All the assaults have been declared. I'm not sure I should even try to save the Bryansk guy because I can't get him back in supply. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a tanks marker right here. Logic dictates I should try to keep the Germans from winning these combats. So I will. That gives me +2. So it's a German +3 to a Russian +2. And here we go. Get that out of my way so I can see my die roll. The Germans roll at +3. They rolled a 6. +3 is a 9. Can't get any better than that. And then the Russians roll a 2. +2 is a 4. So let's go check. A 9 to a 4 is only a DR. The Russians do not have a legal retreat route, so they must be flipped. But they don't really care because they'll stay in, well, right now they're not in supply, so they'll have to do something about that. But I pretty much know how to get out of that. So that was somewhat productive, maybe, for the Germans. I don't know. Put some assault markers out there just so I can grab them in the future. And then we're going to resolve this assault down here, and we have something similar. The armored unit will be the primary. God bless it. The Panzer there, so he starts at +3. And then I get +1 for the Hungarians, +1 for the, what are you, the 15th. So that's +2. Russians start at 1. And then we go to commitment. I don't have anything. If I had ground support, I'd throw it in for the Hungarians, but I don't. The Russians have another tanks marker. They're going to go ahead and use it right away. I'm just put it in the same hex, and then I'll put them on the turn track here in a minute. So they're at +2. Oops, not -2. As much as the Germans would like that to be true, not true. So it's +5 to 3, 4, 5. Okay, I start off at +5, but I have to be -1 because of the weather. I was going to say something's not right there. So +4 to +2, and the Germans roll a 3. +4 is a 7, and the Germans or the Russians roll a 1. +2 is a 3. If you look, a 7 to a 3 is a DR. So he has to back up a space, which he doesn't mind doing. 3 hex assault with no retreat. That's not really a good attack. Good thing to do here. Put the wrong unit in the wrong place here, it looks like. Again, we'll just move these assault markers over here to the side. Everybody's going to be using them for the next few turns. The question is whether I take the hex or not. If I do, if I take it with like the infantry unit, he doesn't have a retreat route. If I take it with the armored unit, he doesn't have a retreat route, so he'll probably attack me at, +2 to my +3. I probably can hold the hex. I will have enough production points to I'll go ahead and move the infantry, the German infantry in. I was tempted to move the Hungarian infantry in, but I don't have a natural +2 with them, so his +2 on attack would make a difference. Right now, you'd be +2 to +2. No, you'd be +1 to +2, or you could be +1 to +3. I think I'll move the armored unit in. Take a chance here, because then I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 more for these 3 units. Puts me down to 12, which is where I want to be at the moment. That lets me have, if I somehow lose a step on the armored unit, he still would be able to be replaced with 2, and I still can move the other unit in Munich. So just kind of thinking ahead on what I would end up having to spend here. Before I forget, I should put the Russian tanks back for next turn. I think they'd like to have them next turn instead of sitting out here on the board. So here we have a little bit different. We start off with +2, the whatever this guy in the south. He's the primary. So he's +2. He gets +1 for his buddies helping him for each. So that puts him up to +4. And then the unit is isolated. So I get up to +6 because of that. And then I have to subtract 1 because he's in the woods, and because it's lousy weather, I have to subtract another 1. So I am +4 to he starts off at -2 because of low supply. And he has nothing that he can add, so that's basically what it's going to be. It's a +4 to a -2. Let's see if I can get good die roll here. 4 + 4 is an 8, and the Russians are at -2. A 3, -2 is a 1, if we check. And 8 to a 1 here is a DD +3. So this guy, that can just be deleted. He will end up on the faction card eliminated box. And the Russians, unfortunately, have to lose another willpower for that. And losing willpower for the armies is willpower you can never regain. But by the same token, the Russian game plan here, for those of you that haven't quite figured out how I'm playing the Russians, my game plan for the Russians is survive till January 1943 with at least 1 will point. If I can do that, then I cannot be collapsed from 1943 on, and it's just a matter of how long it takes me to get back to crushing the Germans. So I'm trying to just hold them off, keep myself with a decent amount of willpower. I don't mind losing a city here and there, because I can regain those over time. And otherwise, not worry too much about things. And let's see, I still have 12 points left. Rather than moving the guy in Munich, I see another possibility here. I was just looking, this guy could actually be isolated the second, where I have him sitting, because the 51st could go, the 51st Russian could go to 1649 and then 2048. The 23rd can move over into the woods. The 62nd behind Bryansk can move into 2249, and they would have me isolated, so they'd get an extra +2 besides their normal +2 on the assault. So they'd be +4 against my +2, actually +3, which means they could get a DR result, and I would, be hard-pressed to try and figure out a way to get him out of there. So I'm going to move him back to 2248. Give me back a little bit of ground, but I have an armored unit that can come across here and attack that clear hex freely. So I don't think you're going to see the Russians taking that. They might move into 2349. There's not a lot I can do about that because I don't want to leave too big a hole where they could maybe force me to retreat into Smolensk and maybe get a pot shot, you know, a 0-0 assault on it or something that I'm not paying attention to. So I think I've kind of got things in a halfway decent line to defend against. Oh, I could take the hex that I just killed the guy, 2548. So I will put that infantry unit in. No, I'm not going to put that infantry unit in. I'm going to put. Yeah, I am. I'm going to put that infantry unit in there. No, because that means he doesn't have a retreat route. I'm not going to take the hex. That way, the guy that's sitting outside of Bryansk, if he tries to do some kind of attack where I can't retreat, just give me. Again, he's shooting for lucky die rolls. I don't want to take chances on 6-1 splits myself. I'm trying to avoid 6-1 splits killing German units. I've already lost one due to embarrassing. I almost lost the Africa army by embarrassment. So trying to avoid that. So let's check the axis for supply here. I also have to check the Italians and see if they're actually done with their moves. What do I have left? Do I want to take the chance? I think I'm going to take a chance here with the Germans. I'm going to go ahead and go down to 9, or to 10 rather. And I'm going to No, I'll do that through strategic movement. I'll leave myself at 11 just in case I lose a step to the armored unit if he decides to attack it. I have to play it safe. The Italians don't really have any movement at this point. So we're checking supply phases here. I'm going to reset the activated and moved so I can see my units. First up, the second convoy is going to try and supply the airplane, I guess. He'll try and supply first air. The British will intercept. They are at a net of -1. +2 for British, -3 for sorties. The Italians are at -4 because they're escorting with their fleet. So British roll 2 -1 is a 1. The best the Italians can roll is a 2 because they're -4 on the die roll. A 1 to a 2 is a diamond, so the Italians will take a sortie, the British will take a sortie, and the convoy will take a sortie, and that means the Italian first air is in supply. At this point, I'm going to let the fourth die, maybe. I'm going to use my 2 sorties, wrong way, out of Tripoli, yes, that is the convoy unit, to supply this guy, the 10th Army, and the Africa Army. Then I will supply Elagalia and Tripoli out of Tripoli, those 2 units. And then I will let the 4th officially go into no supply so that he is at low supply. So he's -4. So if the British want to kill the garrison unit, they're more than welcome to kill the garrison unit. I'm not going to worry about it. Its job will be to move the heck out of the way and let the Africa Army and the 10th Army back up some and rethink how we're going to do the Desert War. I think without a second German infantry unit and or an airplane, I'm kind of up against it here. Don't think I can bust through the British. They just have too much there. And I didn't have the guts to try and pull off a sea lion. So the Germans, in case I want to pull that stunt with this plane, they're going to go ahead and put sortie, keep that airplane in supply, leave the Nor unit in Viborg in low supply. Germans in the east. Trying to make sure I don't have anybody out of supply. 1, 2, 1, 2. Marines are there, Marines are there. This armored unit goes 1, 2 and can go through that rail line, so he's okay. Let's see if tree goes that way, goes that way. Okay, so everybody is in supply. That is the end of the Axis operations phase, looks like. I'm going to pause the video here. We'll see how long it's taken me to get this far. It may be its own video, and I'll finish up with the other side. Or I may try to tack it on to the end here. So this is the end of the Axis operations phase. We'll see where we are. I will double check everything and make sure I haven't messed too much up. And we will see you in a bit, either with an epilogue for this half of the turn or with the continuation of the next turn. Hi everybody. I checked. I'm like at 50 minutes, so this is going to be ending here at the Axis phase. One thing I do need to redo here, the Italian supply here. I forgot that we have poor weather in the warm zone, which means as the Italians, I would have risked my convoy without the fleet, because the British they were at -3 previously, and if you take into account the -2 for bad weather, they would have been at -3 total. They would have had to roll a 6 to stop me, and I would have taken the 1 in 6 chance with the Italians. And the British, knowing that they're going to be short of production points, wouldn't have bothered. I'm sorry, the Italians would have escorted to guarantee that the supply gets through. The British would not have bothered, because a 1 in 6 would have just hit the fleet, and it would have let the Italians be in supply either way. Because all I would have done is stop the fleet, and I couldn't have stopped the Italians at that point, because I would have been a net of -4. So the British don't bother to intercept. The Italians escort to guarantee the supply. So the British don't gain a sortie there. There was no reason to roll a combat there, because the British would not have been able to stop the supply with the escort by the Italians. So I could do it again to make another unit in supply, but I don't see any reason to supply garrisons at this point. I need to have possibly this fleet to do something. We'll see how this goes in the next turn or two. So that is the Axis operations phase. I will pick it up with the West and Soviets' response to the October turn. Thank you for watching my videos. This is Dren608. Please leave comments, subscribe if you like what you see, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.